Hello, this is Brandon, and in this video we'll be going over the Polymodular system by Blamsoft. The Polymodular system is a set of high-quality synth components that allow you to create modular synths in Reason. The modular approach gives you control over the synth design. You can add as many oscillators as you like, use a mono or stereo signal path, and control the number of voices in voice layering. The components themselves are very flexible, with an abundance of features. The Polymodular system can be configured for up to 8 voices of polyphony. Let's take a look at these devices, starting with Distributor. Distributor is the starting point for building a polyphonic modular synth. It provides gate and note control to other devices. The gate signal controls the start and end of notes as well as the note's velocity. Note is the note MIDI number. The poly switch located on the back of the device is important for using Distributor with the Polymodular system. Polymode generates poly-CV, which is used in polyphonic synths. We'll talk more about poly-CV later. In Polymode, any of the gate or note outputs can be used since they are mirrored identically. VO1 Viking Oscillator. VO1 provides 2 analog oscillators with adjustable wave shape and a noise oscillator with classic or white noise. VO1 gives you all of the oscillator features from the popular VK1 Viking synthesizer. It is most commonly used as an audio oscillator, but can also create LFOs when the oscillators are switched to low-frequency mode. VO1 has 8 outputs supporting poly-CV and 1 mono output. Movement. Movement is an 8-stage adjustable waveform generator. Typically, movement is used as an envelope to control the F16 filter and Mark 8 amplifier, but it also can be used as an LFO and high-frequency oscillator. Movement has 8 outputs supporting poly-CV and 1 mono output. The mode switch sets the operating mode of the device and affects the meaning of all other knobs and buttons. Movement can be free-running or synced to tempo in the low-frequency modes. In the high-frequency mode, it acts as an audio rate oscillator. One of the most powerful features of movement is the interactive graphical display. By clicking and dragging the anchor points, you can quickly modify the waveform to suit your needs. The anchor points let you adjust both the time and level of a stage simultaneously. F16. F16 is a multi-mode voltage-controlled filter with a graphical frequency response display. It features 16 modes, resonance compensation, and drive for analog-style soft clipping. You may recognize the modes from the famous Oberheim Matrix 12 and Expander filter. F16 features 2 filter algorithms so you can adjust the CPU usage to your needs. The display screen shows the filter frequency response. The x-axis is logarithmic frequency. The y-axis is magnitude in decibels. Clicking and dragging on the display changes the frequency and resonance simultaneously. This can be used for recording automation or for real-time performance. F16 is typically used as a voltage-controlled filter with the cutoff frequency of the voices controlled by the envelope inputs. On the back, the frequency and resonance inputs offer audio rate modulation. Mark 8. Mark 8 is a voltage-controlled amplifier with parametric EQ and analog-style output meters. Mark 8 offers 8 stereo inputs and a mixed stereo output. Typically, Mark 8 is the last stage of a synthesizer, and the level of its inputs are controlled by a movement envelope. The stereo width can be adjusted with the spread knob. The level meters and clip light give an indication of amplitude of the output signals. On the back of the device, there are inputs for pan and output level. These inputs offer audio rate modulation for interesting effects. CV Merger. CV Merger provides 8 channels of merging in a 1-unit device. Each merger has 4 inputs. In order to do this kind of merging with the Spider Merger, it would take 8 devices and 4 units of rack space. CV Merger is perfect for the Polymodular system, which supports 8 voices. There are level controls on the front for mixing the 4 inputs. It also has 2 voltage-controlled amplifiers for controlling the level of CV signals. The front panel amp controls act as individual level controls for the voltage-controlled amplifiers. CV Splitter. CV Splitter provides 8 channels of CV splitting with 4 outputs for each splitter. It also has 2 voltage-controlled amplifiers like the CV merger. The LEDs on the front show the level of the CV outputs. The D-inverted button controls whether the D output is normal or inverted, which changes a positive signal to a negative signal and vice versa. Audio merger. Audio merger provides 8 channels of merging in a 1-unit device. Each merger has 4 inputs. In order to do this kind of merging with a spider merger, it would take 4 devices in 2 units of rack space. Audio splitter. Audio splitter is similar to audio merger. It provides 8 channels of splitting in a 1-unit device. Each splitter has 4 outputs. The D-inverted button controls whether the D output is normal or inverted. CV Breakout Box. CV Breakout Box converts between poly-CV and monophonic CV. It can be used to trigger individual voices of a polymodular synth from older monophonic triggering devices such as the matrix pattern sequencer. Poly-CV inputs can be plugged into the poly input jacks. These inputs are converted to monophonic signals that can be routed to standard CV devices' gate and note inputs. So what is poly-CV? Poly-CV is a new type of CV signal developed by Blamsoft. Traditional gate and note CV signals have a single value and can only control synths monophonically. Poly-CV allows gate and note cables to send values on multiple channels. These channels are used in the polymodular system to control individual voices of the synth. Gate and note jacks in the polymodular system are smart and can tell whether a signal is poly-CV or traditional CV. When poly-CV is detected, the number jacks are used. When monophonic CV or MIDI input is detected, the mono jack is used. Poly-CV is a digital signal and can be split but not merged. Poly-CV allows the modular system to work without cable overload. Once again, my name is Brandon, and that was the Polymodular system by Blamsoft. To find out more, check out the monosynth and polysynth tutorial videos and visit www.blamsoft.com.